Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed some DJ Lois and was chilling behind your screen. But for now, we're back. And we're back at quite a topic that interested me as well. We have some clients that told me like, hey, we're moving stuff around, but we can't actually build something because it's holed up somewhere in the world. And I was like, oh, I never figured. I always was like, restaurants have a hard time in this situation, but the supply chain is also, in a quite a flux because nobody has seen these times. So I don't want to, put praise to the guy I'm going to introduce now and his panel, but Jonathan is one of the smartest guys we have. So if somebody can figure out what to do together with the awesome people in this panel, it's them. So with no further ado, Jonathan, take it away.
Thank you very much, Max. So welcome everyone to this afternoon's panel session about accelerating the future of manufacturing. As Max says, my name is Jonathan Whiteside and I'm the principal consultant for Dept in the UK. And for the next 45 minutes, I'm going to be joined by 3 expert panelists with a huge amount of industry knowledge to discuss how digital is impacting the future of the industry and the key topics which are on their mind at the moment. But just before I do introduce them, I do encourage you to contribute by discussing, by asking questions or their thoughts on the online chat. I'll be watching and monitoring throughout the discussion, and I'll try to get through the questions and get your questions to the panel towards the end of today's discussion. So first things first, let's introduce the panel. So let's start off with Kim. Kim, can you introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you, Jonathan. And yeah, welcome also from my side. My name is Kim Walowski, and I head up the brand and digital function at a company called Hilti. Hilti is a global company. We employ about 30,000 people around the world. We have an annual turnover of about 5 billion Swiss franc. We're probably best known for the red power tools, but the core business is really about making construction work simpler, faster, and safer. In terms of my background, I've been a marketing professional for over 20 years now, really giving away my age. And I've worked across many different industries in various countries and specialized in digital about 12 years ago.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Kim. Guy, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, Jonathan. Hi, my name is Guy McGrath. I'm the former CDO of a company called Electrocomponents, more commonly known across Europe as RS Components. It's a FTSE listed company, FTSE 250 listed company, and it's the leading high service level distributor of industrial and electronic components, predominantly around 500,000 products, and ships out about 40,000 orders a day.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Guy. And Rachel.
Hi, everyone. My name is Rachel Hughes. I'm Marketing Director at Wienerberger in the UK. We're a 200-year-old global construction company and the world's biggest manufacturer of bricks, clay blocks, pavers and tiles. Now, they might sound quite dull, but we're actually quite an exciting cutting edge of construction and providing the whole building solutions envelope. So we've got around 17,000 people at 200 sites in 30 countries. So there's a lot of figures there for you. And our main customers are architects, specifiers, planners, merchants, house builders, and small developers too. And I've worked in marketing very similarly to Kim for just over 20 years. So you can guess my age.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, everyone. So I hope you understand we've got a good variety of different experiences, different areas of the manufacturing industry. So I'm hoping we're going to have a really great discussion today. So let's get started. We did get together a little bit early on in the week to discuss, key topics and things which were on our mind. And I think it came across from you, Guy, digital across every industry is very much about driving revenue through the customer experience and also helping to reduce operational costs with efficiencies. So really, I wanted to start today talking about the first topic, about driving revenues. So my first question really to you all is, what are the big trends happening in the manufacturing sector really at the moment? Obviously, we're under I'll say the cloud of COVID at the moment. But what's the big trends happening in the sector that in regards to digital impact And also, do you think they're temporary and just COVID related, or do you think that they're here to stay? So, Rachel, it'd be good to hear from you first.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was already a macro trend at play already before COVID of people moving more online and away from bricks and mortar. And I think COVID has just, accelerated and enforced that. So just within our business, we're seeing a lot less face-to-face selling and a much bigger increased reliance on virtual forums. And I do think that they're here to stay. We'll need to get the right balance, but I think they're definitely here for the long term. So, I think our salespeople who would normally drive around visiting customers, they're seeing their time spent in front of customers almost like a currency. And how do customers want us to spend that? Do they want us turning up with a catalogue and products to show? Or would they rather go and talk to them about what their pain points are and try and solve their issues? So I think that's one change that is going to be certainly permanent. And I think in many manufacturing businesses, B2B is playing catch up with B2C. And for us, we've seen a very welcome acceleration, actually, of projects to move things online and make us more digital. So things like customer portals, online account management for our customers, and sales enablement tools like Showpad. So we've seen more and more of that. And this has actually helped push those things forward at a greater pace.
Great. Guy, what are your thoughts on this?
It's a question you could spend the whole hour on in some ways.
Good.
And I completely agree with Rachel that there is a general move more towards digital. And I think there's a couple of stats to try and frame this. Is B2B buyers are predominantly 61% of them now are wanting to predominantly do their researching and finding online now. That's gone up from about 50% only 3 years ago. And that's predominantly been driven by a millennial audience, of which buyers are highly aligned to millennials. And millennials account for about 30% of the workforce, but by 2030 it'll be 70%. So your first digital natives are really wanting to interact more digitally.
Yeah.
So it's a trend I think that was happening. It's definitely accelerated post-COVID, even more so, as ways of being able to get your products to market are more through a digital lens. But when you look at what customers are asking for, I think it's predominantly three things they're after. Firstly, they're after, and probably most importantly, unparalleled ease of use. Just make it incredibly easy and simple to use, because most people's one commodity they lack, and more than the other, is time. Mm-hmm. So the more and the easier you make it, the more convenient the loyalty becomes. And convenience is a new loyalty. Secondly, make it incredibly friendly, and the use of data to make it incredibly relevant. B2B customers are customers that trade with businesses for a long period of time. So use the data you have to make those journeys incredibly relevant. And lastly, make it quick. And that's not just site speed, that's same day delivery, not next day delivery. And then moving into when you have questions and queries, you don't want to wait around for hours. You want to get instant response. So those trends are only getting faster around ease of use.
Okay. Kim, I just want to pick up a point which Rachel mentioned earlier, which was she said that she believed that the B2B experiences are playing catch up to B2C in some regards. And just reflecting on what Guy said just then about ease of use, friendly, being quick, next day delivery, kind of the Amazon type experience. Do you agree with that? Do you agree that B2B is playing catch up to B2C?
Absolutely. I think in most instances, B2B is playing catch up because fundamentally, I think Guy already kind of hinted at it. There's no real difference between a good customer experience in B2B and B2C. The B2B experience is just a lot more complex. So good experience is one that is frictionless or, is positively memorable. I remember ordering my first Uber cab ever, and I couldn't stop talking about the experience, from actually booking the cab to actually the cab arriving to the receipt being in my inbox to being able to provide some feedback. I think that's what a good experience looks like. So as I kind of said, the experience, the difference is really that the B2B experience is a lot more complex, and it's exponentially complex, really, and that's kind of difficult for B2Bers, I think, to negotiate and find a start on, how do I actually go about improving these experiences. And what I mean by exponentially complex is, often in a B2B environment, you have interdependent contacts within a business. So you've got your procurement department, or people in procurement, people in finance, etc. They're interacting with each other. So, that's making the experience of managing the experience from a manufacturer's point of view more complex. And then these individual contacts also use different platforms to engage with us, sometimes also third-party platforms. So, there you've got this whole array of complexity that you need to try and manage. And I think one thing that's really useful in just kind of getting started on, improving these experiences is really around, understanding the needs and expectations of individuals within an organization. We sometimes call them personas as well. And really understand, what do they want from us in terms of experiences. Then you also need some sort of a platform that allows you, or a way or methodology to allow you to actually identify current touch points that you're creating, or the experience you're creating currently that you're wanting to improve. And then you basically select a few, we call them hero journeys, to really look at the improvements that you can make that will have the biggest impact on the customer experience. So they're just a few examples on how we go about it to break down the complexity.
That's great. I do want to come back to a couple of those points. I've been noting them down as you've been talking, and come back to them a bit later on. The first thing I want to come back to really is that I think all three of you mentioned a little bit that the sector's had historically a very strong focus on personal interaction, and that can aid some of the complexity, or certainly increase some of the complexity that you have. And I know from personal experience, a lot of the interactions are through things like trade shows, things like product experts, because a lot of your product offerings are complex in the manufacturing industry. So at the moment, where physical interactions are very limited, how do you get around that? How do you do this remotely effectively? And have you, within your organizations, got some examples of where you've seen successes in that? Kim, do you want to get us started with that?
Yeah, sure. Really good point, Jonathan. It has been quite a challenge recently. I'm sure I kind of speak for most people, who manufacture and sell product services, and, particularly the ones, as you said, with more complex solutions. One initiative we have recently accelerated is a concept called Hilti Live. So we basically use the live streaming functionality on social media to demonstrate our solutions and interact with our customers. So that's just one way to, just leverage basically what's possible out there to engage with our customers without actually relying on the face-to-face interaction. I think also what the benefit of that is really that kind of, that evolution to more kind of digital approaches and digital engagement is also, we're making our industry more attractive, I think, to future talent. Digital natives get very much excited in our organization about these new initiatives that we're launching. They want to get involved. We recently used VR, for example, to bring some challenges that are happening on the job site to the actual management teams in the construction company. And not only were our sales teams really excited about using VR in that context, but also it kind of really helped open up conversation. As we kind of see the digital natives kind of moving through the ranks and into management positions, I think it'll become more and more important to actually use, exciting new digital technologies to engage with our customers in a different way.
Okay. Rachel, you work, from my perspective, in a very traditional type of organization, the kind of the products that you're selling, where I do imagine, particularly kind of the building trade, where things are very personal interactions and physical interaction based. So how's that affected you in able to show products, for capturing leads and that sort of thing?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's very much about the relationships, and I'm sure lots of deals are done over a pie and a pint on many occasions. But we can prove that events in a virtual sense can work really well, just like this one. And yeah, sure, there will be still the odd face-to-face event and the odd trade show, etc. But in a very different style and a very different format. So I think what it's done, whilst showcasing products face to face is perhaps gone for now, it's forced us to be more creative and entertaining in our delivery. So whether that's over webinars, offering training to customers, technical support, Zoom meetings, which we're all Zoom to death, I know. So, you know, that's got to be a different way to deliver that experience for a customer. And in terms of using other technologies, we've got a really good digital department. I know some of them are on this session and probably going to ask me some difficult questions at the end. But we're already making really good use of things like fly-throughs. So we're showing a virtual experience to an architect, showing 3D designs to architects to show our services to housing developers. And when we can't show someone a physical product, like a brick, you know, the humble brick, or a wall finish that someone can choose for their building, we're using things like texture generators, high definition panel imagery to show architects and specifiers the product in a virtual setting. So it's really got its place. That technology was already there, but it was a sort of an extra. Well, now it's actually the main way to show somebody our products. And it's worked really well the past 6 months because there was no alternative. So we had to make it work. But I think people still like to touch and feel a product when they're at the selection stage, but they're a lot more accepting of a purely virtual experience when it's all about finding and exploring. I mean, in order for us to do this and to do it well, we're very reliant on having good quality data, and I think that's already been mentioned about, you know, different personas and different character sets and data. So it's kind of shone the spotlight in some dark corners in terms of data quality. So I think it's been a welcome catalyst for us to get our data in good order. And I think those who have got that digital first approach are going to be the winners. And in a very traditional sector like construction and in our industry, we're working really hard to make sure we're at the front of that. Okay, great.
Guy, your experience is very much electrocomponents, perhaps a little bit different than Rachel. So how, again, similar sort of question is, how do you get across the nature of the products, the capabilities of the products that you have on offer in when you're in a remote situation?
Yeah, I mean, electro or RS components are down the other end of the scale compared to Rachel, as in 60 to 70% of our sales are online. But we have a thriving sales force that are more thriving than ever before, and more important. They're just things, and my view of it is it's not black or white, one or the other. It is a omnichannel experience that's most important, where actually there's things that you just can't do online. You know, when you're coming through negotiation, when you are into real complex products, they do need more face-to-face contact, you know. And I think buyers are asking salespeople to be more skilled in consultative selling, selling specialist products or solutions or services. And anything that can be manually done or themselves, they would rather do themselves. So in our products, a lot of our products are not as complicated, but you can really clearly see that our customers would like to research and find and discover as much of those products they can online as they can themselves. But when it comes down to negotiating on price or different delivery solutions, they may well need some element of face-to-face contact. So we lay out our customer journeys and work out where best to stick is human touch to drive real value, and where can we actually do this through digital to create a great experience. Okay. But the one word I think that we probably left out here is content. I mean, and manufacturers here, I think this is hugely important. They are the originator of most content. They know more about the product than anybody else. And you know, the most common search term on YouTube is "how do you do?" How do you? And you know, this is just a great example for a discovery stage, the researching phase for manufacturers or who have been caught out because they haven't got routes to market, is to build that researching phase as much as possibly online through amazingly rich content that they have.
Yeah, that's a very good point, and it ties back to a couple of things you said about support, servicing and support. At a time like this, as well as being able to sell, how you service and how you support your customers and keep those relationships as positive as possible is quite key. Do you have any thoughts about how you support customers at this current time as well, when again getting people out on the roads to look at components or explain things is a little bit more complicated.
Again, please.
So yeah. So about how you support customers. So once they've been through the buying stage, once the post-purchase journey is just as important as the acquisition journey, the support. And how do you keep them supported, especially at this particular time?
Yeah, so our biggest post-purchase complaint is actually returns. Actually, how do I return a product easily? And actually, it was probably one of our lowest net promoter scores, actually, in terms of our scores, because it was so difficult. It was outside the production line. So we completely broke down the process and made that a seamless, easily process that customers could just return it, no quibble, in terms of immediately to it. But when it comes down to any interaction, we have really built out my account, that virtually every question we look at that can be dealt with online, we'll do it. We'll always go by the quantity and the friction of what a customer complains about or wants, and build those facilities online based on the value it gives to the customer. And it's most important there, it's value to the customer, that whatever they're asking for, they normally behave relatively similar. We will create solutions either online or offline, predominantly online first. We will always have an online mentality to try and provide that solution so we can get scale globally.
Great. Moving back to the sales discussion then. Due to disruptions, particularly in April time, March, April time, often we saw with some of our customers that their traditional sales channel, resellers, distributors, were not able to sell the products effectively. Either they shut physical stores or they didn't have the staff to be able to deal with those sales. And so we saw a lot of discussion, I'm sure everyone saw a lot of discussion about the whole rise of direct to consumer for manufacturers and how manufacturers can communicate and sell directly to the consumers. So I'd be interested to know some of your thoughts on this and the potential long-term impacts that it could have on relationships with your resellers and distributor channels. Kim, I know that you have a very direct sales model at Hilti, so probably not relevant to you. But Rachel, how does it affect you? Because I was doing some building work and I know that I was affected, so I'd be interested to know how you guys dealt with that.
Yeah, so I mean, we supply direct to consumer via a channel of merchants and tradesmen and resellers and so on. And I think during lockdown, when a lot of those businesses were closed or on a limited opening time, we saw homeowners coming directly to us for information, technical support, product samples. I mean, it just went through the roof, and to the point where we were quite overwhelmed with it. But I think when it comes to supplying customers in that model in the long term, we have got a very strong reseller network in place through our builders, merchants and roofing merchants. And they're crucial in the supply chain to us. They've got the strong relationships with direct customers, they've got the deep expertise, and they sell the everything that we supply part of. And I think, rather than looking to potentially short circuit them and follow that very attractive carrot of, increasing margin or whatever, that's not the route we've chosen to take. And it's absolutely about investing in our reseller network and in our merchants and stockists. So, for example, our digital team's been working really hard to improve our Find a Stockist feature. So we're actually helping consumers find our product and to be able to go and see the product in a merchant setting or speak to some more technical advice there. So we're investing in that. And then in terms of our relationship with our merchant network, we're working on incentive programs with them, working on VIP programs, making sure that they feel supported with, whereas we can't visit them, but at least we're giving them technical support and training. But we're certainly not ignoring the consumer, because we recognise the important role they play, whether it's buying a house from a developer or choosing a product to build on their extension, whatever it might be. So we see the role of us is very much to try and educate, inform and influence and keep that relationship open, raise our own profile so that they're aware of us and might want to specify our products. Great.
Guy, do you have any opinions on this?
I mean, RS are right smack bang in the middle of it. We work with 2,500 suppliers, and we service 1 million customers. So we're right in the middle of that mix you're talking about. And in the industry which sells everything from cable to health and safety to kind of power tools, etc., we're in. The vast majority of our industry is still served offline through wholesale. And I can only imagine suppliers have asked through that time is, the question is, all of that route to market has disappeared. And yes, RS would have done well out of that, the question, because they have stayed open through online. But I'd imagine suppliers have asked themselves, we don't want to get caught out in this situation again of not being able to have routes to market. Should we set up our own web shop, for example? That is a really interesting challenge, and I know a lot of people are thinking of doing it, but it does come with its challenges. Predominantly, is if you want to sell products, you either sell it, 50% of the market is via Google, via search engines, or 50% of the market is via, if you're not selling direct, is going via marketplaces led by Amazon. And both have pluses and minuses to them. Amazon obviously doesn't hold the data and doesn't tell you about what's selling. To rank in Google is incredibly complicated business to do in terms of natural search, and it's quite sophisticated. So for a manufacturer to go direct, they have to think about, actually, there's all the skills that maybe a distributor does that actually it's done years and years of to be able to rank in the business. But they have got to ask that question. But if it goes more digitally, it makes it easier for them. But if the wholesale part closed down was the real problem.
Yeah. So I think both of you, saying there that there's a very key part of this whole process, or this whole time, is both for manufacturers, but also your distribution sales channels, to actually define what the value is as part of that supply chain, part of that sales chain, and be very, very clear on the value that you can add. I am getting a question in now. A couple of people have been asking it, actually, that I just want to quickly go to, is that do any of you see a trend towards live video in the B2B e-commerce website scenarios to improve the shopping experiences? So when perhaps you're looking at a particular product or a particular solution, that you can speak or through the video directly with an expert, as you would perhaps at one of your merchants or one of your suppliers in a offline setting. So I was just wondering if any of you have got any experience with that and what your opinions are.
I could take that, if you like. And I think, it's a really, really good question. And I can see that having a place. Maybe not quite yet. We're still kind of, for Hilti anyway, we're looking at, expanding our live chat functionality. Generally, the whole topic of, social media customer service is one that's very top of mind at the moment. And I don't really see why not, why shouldn't we use live video on the websites as well? So, great question. And let me ponder. Thanks, Serkan.
Guy?
Yeah, I mean, we offer obviously a web chat capability that's text-based. I think post-COVID, what has proved, and it's been a massive change, that everybody in a workplace has now worked around VC conferencing with regards to, whether it's Teams, Zooms, Blue Jeans, whatever. And that face interaction is hugely important. And one of the things I think people want is friendly. And actually, if you can provide that, it comes with challenges in terms of obviously bandwidth, in terms of your ability to be able to offer that facility on a massive global scale. But it's inevitable. It's an inevitable, I think, change that I think is going to occur. That actually people want more intimacy throughout the journey, and where you can offer that in terms of that through the organisation.
Perfect. Rachel, have you any different thoughts or same thoughts?
Just picking up on that point that Guy said about, having that customer relationship intimacy. It's not something we've tried yet, but I wouldn't ever say no. What we've really been doing, looking at launching customer portals where we're automating a lot of the frequently asked questions and the most commonly sought information. So that side of things is automated, but that's meant we can then give our customer service agents the time and space to invest in having, good dialogues with customers. And we've really pushed that idea of having a familiar face or a friendly voice that you can talk to build that relationship, to kind of make up for that time that we're not spending getting in front of customers. So I think live video is probably the next step, and I'm sure we'll see a lot more of that in B2C before it makes it to B2B.
Perfect, thank you. Thank you for the question. Any more questions, and please just keep them coming, and I'll pose them as soon as I get them. So, okay, moving tack a little onto the more cost savings and efficiencies side that digital can enable. So a key factor on everyone's mind over the past 6 months has been, and even before that really, is how can we do more with less? How can we improve efficiencies? How can we reduce costs? And there's always pressure from the top to show and demonstrate how digital can enable this. So I'd really like to start to talk about how you can give your thoughts on how organizations should think about it. And have you any particular examples or successes that you've seen where doing something digital, even something simple, can have a big effect on operational cost savings? Guy, I'll start with you on this one.
Yeah, just quickly go back to Melissa's question that she was asking about on there's pluses and minuses of showing video as well. Showing people. Just because we did a test, we have web chat with a picture of an agent, and we just did one of the tests we did was a female agent and a male agent.
Okay.
And the response rate, I won't go which one it was, but the response rate on one we showed was on engineers was significantly higher than another. So I think it's really interesting. It does open up different challenges. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but to say it's really, you learn all the time whether, and actually we'll learn very quickly whether face-to-face is good or not, whether we get a better response or not. And the best way to do is test it. And that leads me into the second question about how you do more with less. My view of these things is test, and always be as customer-centric as you possibly can. RS have 15 agile teams predominantly, and we're probably doing hundreds of multivariate tests every day or every week, working out about what is the best way to be able to take an offer to market. But realistically, I always start from the customer and work backwards. And how do you use that and say, what is it that customers find important? And that's where you focus. Does it provide value to the customer and improve their customer experience? That's where we'd always focus.
Yep.
We will always, wherever possible, try to have a hands-off-the-wheel approach. And that is do it through automation. So anything that we can do that is data-driven, that enables us to be able to provide a response to customers through a data-driven approach, through technology and data, we will. Okay, allowing us to free up our human resource to add real sparkle and value in the things that are hugely important. There are multiple manual tasks in an order, and we just have to realize it. Processing orders, processing emails, the researching phase. A lot of these things can be done if done well through a digital journey, but there is a lot of things that have to be done and only can be done through a human touch, and really put that human touch in where it really adds value. And we use and automate data wherever we can. We're 28 countries all around the world, and we are bidding on over 1 million products at any one time through Google. This is all automated, and it's something that we couldn't do manually at all. And wherever we can, we will automate everything we do, whether it's product recommendations, through to personalized journeys, through to emails that are all behavioral driven. It's all done through technology to provide scale as much as possible and of relevance.
Great. Kim?
Yeah, I really, very much agree with Guy. And I think going back to an earlier comment by Rachel as well, the importance is really around data quality, right? For you to automate processes, you need to have your data quality in tow. And that's been a real key focus at Hilti, really, to ensure that we have quality data that actually allows us to automate the processes, but not just automate the processes, but also provide these great customer experiences. Because we automate processes and, the process goes wrong because the data isn't correct, then, the customer could also be at the receiving end. And that's really critical that we keep that in mind. I think, also picking up from an earlier point, I think the context in which we operate now really has shown us, or over the past 6 months, has really shown us the art of the possible. So, as Rachel said earlier on, we can actually deliver some services, via online or digital means that we probably wouldn't have considered earlier on. So that would create efficiencies as well. So it's not about somebody in sales going out to see a customer, but maybe we can consider using online consultations, etc. And I think at Hilti, whilst we are looking at a tactical level always to gain efficiencies, by process automation, generally leveraging digital technology and data, we've taken a slightly different or more holistic and sustainable view, I think, on capturing the opportunity of digital. So over the past 6 months, really, or within 4 months, actually, we leveraged basically the downtime that we have during the crisis to roll out Salesforce.com to 48 countries and 11,000 live users. So that will enable us to much better use the interplay between physical and digital, really, and really optimize the mix and channels, and then really bring the power of digital to the fore by serving the customers digitally where we can and where it adds most value, and then engaging with them physically, where again it adds most value. So that's basically the journey that we've been on over the last 4 months, which was very exciting.
Thanks, Kim. Rachel, I know that you've probably had some experience of this as well in terms of driving efficiencies, and perhaps some examples where things that you thought weren't possible in the past have suddenly become possible. So
got quite a lot of those, but we've not got a huge amount of time, so I'll give you 2 examples. And one, for example, I think our IT department said they could never get the entire company on Teams, but they managed it within a week. So we're all perfectly, it's amazing what can happen when there's a crisis. Something we've seen in terms of process automation, we are increasing the number of orders that are put on digitally. And it means we're removing the manual process of things like delivery notes. And like I said earlier, it means our customer agents are then freed up to spend more time doing the technical advice, the expertise, relationship building, upselling, rather than the order entry, which really, many industries have probably automated that long ago, but that's something, that we've been able to accelerate, that has been forced upon us. And the other thing, which was something me and my team worked really directly on, was introducing a non-touch collection process that right back at the start of COVID, when nobody wanted to touch anything or anyone. It was about how can hauliers come into our stockyards. Normally they'd have their clipboard, several reams of paper, pens being passed around from behind ears and things like that. Just, remove all of that, book it online on their mobile, which of course they use when they're parked up and pulled over to the side. They come into the yard at their allotted time. There's no paperwork. It's all done digitally, tapped on an iPad, and it all whizzes off into the ether, and it all works wonderfully. I think if we'd said we were going to roll that out in a month, people would have had multiple heart attacks. But we got it done, and actually, hauliers were happy to do that. A community of people who you think would be the least digital and the last to get on board, they were all for it, and it works wonderfully.
Fantastic. Okay, I'm going to move on to some questions that have come in. I've got one specifically coming for Kim, which is from a direct customer sales point of view. Is Hilti considering, or is already working on, different business models? For example, paying based on usage rather than instead of an upfront fixed cost for a tool. I'm just wondering if, subscription model purchasing is on the rise in every industry. So I'm just wondering, from a more manufacturing point of view, is that something under consideration or something that you've been looking into?
That's a really interesting question. Thank you very much. So we have got smart tools already. So, tools that actually monitor usage data that could be used in that way. What we do is we look at, from a consultative perspective, we look at the usage of tools across a job site, for example, and offer them via fleet, which is quite revolutionary in the day as well. So that's basically the business model that probably is closest to your question. At the moment, we don't sell by use. We do hire out our tools. So in a way, that's kind of pay by use, but by day, but not by usage. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting way. Unfortunately, I don't think the same model would work for your products, Rachel, in some way, and components, electrical components as well. Okay. I think that's the last of the questions coming in. So I'm just going to pose one last question, is about, and very, very quickly, is about how do you keep your employees engaged at the moment while they're working remotely? You know, I've just on the basis of someone mentioning rolling out Teams very, very quickly and then implementing Salesforce in record time. How do we keep that engagement going? It's been over 6 months now. People are tiring a little. So very, very quickly, perhaps a minute each, just to say what your thoughts are on keeping employees engaged. I will start with Guy.
Okay. I mean, look, you know, there's a very tactical one. Obviously, is probably some very good practices that you can use through these type of meetings you have here in terms of keeping through the role of the manager and keeping employees engaged. But I think the bigger challenge is, as you have no bringing together, the company purpose of the organization is hugely important. What is it this business stands for and is trying to do, and why am I being a part of this business, and what is it trying to achieve? You know, that I think becomes even more important in an organization of what is its challenge and trying to be, because that's something I want to be a part of and actually want to make sure happens. And I think you've got to stand out. Otherwise, it's just going to be, why do I work for company A versus B?
Yeah.
So you've got to really, really make it very special about the organization, about what are they trying to achieve.
Brilliant. Rachel?
Yeah, we work really hard to keep all our 1,400 employees in the UK engaged, whether on furlough or off furlough. And you know, we sent them postcards for those who are non-digital. We did videos for those that are, and we did regular newsletters. And I think, you know, we're making sure that we maintain that now that people are now back at work, but at home at work, for the office workers. And I think just keeping them consulted, keeping them informed. And communicating more than we think we should normally. And also very much to what Guy said about employees, with them not coming into the office and having the whole experience, it's important that they understand the bigger picture of the company that they're working in. So, you know, not just joining a company, but joining a cause, and, you know, why we do what we do. So I think a company's sense of purpose is even more crucial than it was before. And it's something we're really working on in Wienerberger.
Perfect. Kim, I know that's important at Hilti as well. So again, we've got a couple of minutes. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, very, very, just building basically on Rachel's and Guy's comments, really, very much relate to that in the Hilti context as well. You know, the purpose of the organization, what they're actually setting out to achieve. And I think, but also taking that purpose down to an individual level, right? You know, to really, you know, have really concise steering of people, you know, what's my purpose within this bigger picture, and just reminding people of that, I think is really, really important. I think, you know, open communications, just the kind of things that we know work, you know, and maybe also every now and again, just like a social, you know, let's meet up on a Friday afternoon, have a beer and play some games, right? So I think just to kind of try and also mirror the kind of things that we did when we were seeing each other, I think it's quite important as well for the team spirit.
I think that's the most perfect use of Teams as you can get, really. Friday afternoon beers. Okay, well, thank you very much, everyone. We've come to the end of our time. Thank you for contributing. Thank you for everyone. And what I'm going to do now is pass back over to Max. Max.
Hi, guys. So that was one awesome talk, and so cool to have you finish the day off with this talk and your insights. Jonathan, thank you so much for hosting it. Rachel, Guy, and Kim, so great that you took the time for us to share your knowledge and your thoughts. So enjoy your evening. And for us, it's sort of a small wrap for this stage. We had a very interesting day. I don't know about you, but for me, it was amazing. I learned a lot, and there were a lot of things that I thought like, wow, yeah, that made me think. So was there a red lining? Well, to sum it up, we talked a lot about the future of fashion, healthcare, consumer goods, manufacturing. Also, we talked about brand identities through motion and consumers combined with creativity and data. So what was the red lining? Because you might think like there wasn't one. Well, I saw one clear. Digital just became 100% core in 2020. Before, we had moments like, yeah, maybe not. Yeah, we'll do it in person. We'll wait. We have a roadmap in 5 years. But everybody is talking about the sense of urgency that we need to combine the things that we are doing with digital. All the industries, all the knowledge, we need to speed up the process because for us, it's a matter of survival. We need to build and we need to accelerate. So thank you for hanging in there. And thank you for being our friends today on this stage. It meant a lot to me and it meant a lot to all the panels and all the people and all the organization. A small thanks to the crew over here, Tom and Laura. Laura, it's her birthday. She sacrificed it especially for you. Kind of awesome. I'll be heading right now to the playground of Dept. DJ Lois is playing at this moment, and together with her, we'll close off the day exactly at 7. So if you have the time, just grab a bite to eat, hang around, and chill a bit at our playground stage. There is a QR code. You can scan it with your phone. You can even watch it in the kitchen or whatnot. See you there. And if not, enjoy the evening. And it was awesome having you.